Fala pessoal do Sharecast, tudo bem com vocês? Estamos aqui para o 5º episódio do nosso programa. Hoje a gente vai ter a presença ilustre aqui do Antonino, ele que já foi Senior Trader da Pinnacle, já foi Trader da Betcris, atualmente ele é apostador profissional com bastante experiência em todo tipo de mercado e ele tem ligação com vários sindicatos aí mundo afora e grandes grupos de apostadores também. Hoje quem vai me ajudar aqui nessa entrevista é o Luquinha de novo. A gente vai bater um papo bem bacana aqui com o Antonino hoje.
Fala pessoal, vamos aí para mais um podcast. Estamos aí de novo, depois do episódio com o Diva. Certeza que vai ser bem legal esse papo aí.
Okay, Antonino, let's get started here. Tell us something about your past, your begin in the bets. You used to bet for, as I say, for playing only. What do you thought about that on a few years ago?
So I guess my journey started in 2008. I was approached by Pinnacle asking me if I would be interested in going to work there. Before 2008, I've never made a wager in my life. I didn't even know what a money line was, a spread was. So, I was always keen in like gambling. My parents, when I was a little boy, would play cards with their friends, and I would watch them as a 7 or 8 year old. And I always liked games and gambling games and numbers and things of that nature. Worked at Pinnacle for 10 years. Mostly I was in charge of their North American sports. After that, I moved to a company called Planetech, which is a B2B that provides odds for Betcris. And I did that for about 5-6 years. I now run my own betting group. We bet a lot of different sports and a lot of different stuff. And I also do some consulting still with Planetech and some other companies at times when it comes along.
Okay, so you started working on Pinnacle, the invite to work with them. It was before you start betting.
Yes,
You even didn't bet.
I've never made a bet in my life.
Oh my god!
It was because of the Magic, the card game.
Yeah, the story, I don't know exactly how the story went, but the story I've been told is there used to be a Magic player who was really good and was winning a lot of money playing, betting at Pinnacle. In 2007, Pinnacle kicked out all of their American customers. So this guy was American. He got offered a job to go down to Pinnacle since he couldn't bet with Pinnacle anymore. The gentleman went down there and he basically told them, the reason why I'm able to win so much money off of you guys is because the people behind the computers are not really big critical thinkers. And Pinnacle asked them, they said, hey, where do I find people that think like you? In a very bash way, the guy started laughing. He says, no one is as smart as me. Ha, ha, ha. But there's this card game called Magic the Gathering. The people that play this card game are actually really smart, and you should look into the guys that play. So what Pinnacle did is at the time, I was very good at Magic. It was I got second at Worlds in 2006. I won USA Nationals in 2005. I was doing very good. So what they did is they went and looked at the standings of like the best Magic players, and they started inviting people over to go work there. I was the 7th or 8th person they called, and at the time I had a great job. I was living in San Diego, California, which is a great place to live. And I was making games for a living. I was working for a company called Upper Deck. We made games for kids, card games and cartoons and video games. And it was really fun. And when I got a phone call, I thought it was a joke. I didn't even know what sports betting was. I didn't know what Curacao was. I didn't know anything. And they said, hey, listen, just come down for a weekend, see if you like it. And and the rest is history.
Good, really good. And
So
how was this structure of Pinnacle? Was something great when you came here and look how the staff? Was a good place.
I really enjoyed it because I was at a point in my life I didn't have a family, I didn't have kids. Moving to some island sounded awesome, right? I like to go out, I like to drink, I like the beach. But What's really got me is I got to go to a place where you got to hang out with people that were like-minded like me. So they hired about 40 Magic players over the course of the next 2 years. And and it was awesome. We would sit around and talk about work and how to make each other better. We would go to dinner and talk about the games that we had just traded. We kind of all learned together, and that was really fun. And also it's fun because there's 40 single guys with nothing, other than work. We had nothing else to do, so you always found somebody that you can hang out with. You could go to the beach with, you could go drinking with, it was really fun. Yeah, that's that. The company itself, Pinnacle, is a great place to work because I don't know how it is now, but at that time, they allowed you to become your own person. Nobody told me this is the way you're supposed to trade. Nobody even explained to me what trading was. I got put in front of the computer one day, and they told me, okay, and you got to do MLB totals. This was on my first day of work, okay?
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do MLB totals. Okay, I don't even watch baseball, but okay, I'll do those. And the guy tells me 7 is worth 35, 8's worth 16, 9's worth 25, 10's worth 18. And I didn't even know what that meant. And it took me about an hour to figure out that every time I convert a number, that's how many cents roughly it was worth. And then, it took me a while to realize that if I would move the line, the whole down best screen would move. It took me a while to I barely knew how to use a system. They just throw you out there and they said, learn, right? And for the first few months, you're actually going to lose the company money. But they were okay with that. What they really wanted is you to get your own strategy, you to think on your own. They didn't want a copy of 10 of the same traders. They wanted 10 different traders who all thought for themselves. Now, of course, some are better than others, and it would be better if 2 are a complete copy. But at the end of it, when we all getting our ideas, we were combining our ideas and we were discuss them, and eventually we all became better and we all grew together, which was kind of cool.
Good.
You used to live in Curacao?
Yeah, we had a move there. I
How
lived
was
there
your
for
life there?
Curacao was great. We would go to work with flip flops and shorts every day. I was in American sports. Our shifts were very long and grueling. We would start work around 8 or 9 in the morning, and we would work until 8 or 9 at night. We would get a break during the day. The company itself, the Pinnacle offices were right on the beach on this place called Holiday Beach Hotel. It was kind of like a all-inclusive resort. The offices were on the second floor. So we would take big breaks during the middle of the day because, we were working 12-hour shifts. And we would either go play out back, we would go and play some basketball, or we would go for a swim at the pool or at the beach. It was nice,
Moment.
and then at night you get out of work, you meet up whoever's out in whatever bar or whatever, or some people would get together and play Magic, whatever. And then every day was rinse and repeat.
And how was your daily life of a Pinnacle trader when you were there? You said that you live on a resort.
No, the hotel, the stuff was in the resort, the office. We all had different apartments, like a few miles away or whatever. The island is
But you
not that.
needed to go to the office on this resort, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do there?
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess we can go through an American sports life cycle. I would come in, I would turn on the computer. The first thing I would check is all the overnight bets. Uh, I was one of those type of traders. I didn't really follow the sports. I didn't really follow the players. The only really thing I cared about is profiling customers and figuring out who was smart and who was stupid. So I would look at all the bets the day before. During the night that we came in, I would make some assumptions on which ones were real and which ones were fake, because there's a lot of manipulation that goes on the night before. I would try to get my numbers where I felt that, I would be happy with a bet on both sides. Or get my numbers in a place where I actually wanted bets only on one side. And then we usually would open, the limits. If it was NBA, I would come in, our totals would be at 2,000 and the spreads and money lines would be at 5,000. We would bump them up. And that's usually when Vegas also puts up their numbers. It's usually around 6 a.m. Vegas time, which is either 9 or 10 a.m. Curacao time. And then we would just sit there, and in the morning it's really busy because that's when you bump up your limits. So you have to, for the next 2-3 hours, you're really busy. Lots of bets are coming in, the lines are moving, you have to be fast. And then after that big flurry of bets in the morning happens, it kind of slows down. That slows down, you raise the limits a little more whenever everything becomes stable. And for the next 2-3 hours, you just sit there and you try to induce bets and and check out, make sure your numbers are good. And a lot of companies don't do this. At Pinnacle, what they did for American sports, that you were the owner of that line from beginning to end. It's like you're watching a movie or you're playing a game from beginning to end. It didn't exist that in the middle of the day, my shift was over, and then I would give the game to somebody else who came in, because they don't understand all the things that I learned and that I did throughout the day, right? So this idea that I work 6 hours and then I give the game to somebody else, together we're going to do a worse job. So the way they did it is, the people that open in the morning, they also had to close the game at night. Okay. So and I wanted to do that for myself too, because I have ideas where this line is going to go, and I'm making decisions based on these ideas. I want to see if I was right or wrong, right? Yeah. So and then you take your break, you maybe go get a bite to eat, maybe go for a swim, whatever, and then we would come back about 2-3 hours before the games would start. And this for instance, for NBA, I assume today's NBA, it's all about injury news, right? Back in the day, we didn't have Twitter, so we didn't really have that up-to-date injury news. We had accounts that we knew that if they would bet, it was because there was an injury news. But you sit there and you try to earn as much as possible and try to get big positions, as where you have a few smart customers telling you who's going to win the game, and that's kind of how you spend your day.
Yeah, because it's let me say something here. The American esports, it's big difference than soccer, right? Because when you talk about NBA, MLB, even NHL, the teams plays almost every day, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to do these lines one day from the other. MLB sometimes has 2 games of the same team in the one day, like team A won, team A won, team B won, team A 2, right? 2 games in the same day. It's kind of difficult. I think it's difficult, more difficult than soccer to do these lines, because you need to be online thinking about it all the time.
You have to think about it all the time. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of stuff going on, like injuries and news and all that stuff. But if you have sharp customers telling you something and you listen to them, plus you have the VIG on your side, it's hard to fuck it up. I don't know if I can curse. I'm sorry. It's hard to mess it up, right? So I can't imagine being a trader at Bet365 or DraftKings or FanDuel, these companies that don't allow winning bettors. Because if you're a trader in one of these places, how do you ever know which game you want to risk money with? Because all the smart customers get kicked out. So now you only have stupid customers. So unless you're some kind of expert that knows, how to quantify one team winning probability versus the other, you're going blind. You're deciding things without any information. And if you're a trader who can actually define these things, then you're on your wrong side of the counter, because these jobs, they work you long hours. You don't have holidays. You don't have weekends. Your I don't know, your niece gets a baptism on a weekend. and you're the college football trader, I promise you they won't let you go. Right? And they don't pay you that much, right? They pay you okay. They pay you good, but it's not like, life-changing money.
Good.
So if you're that smart, you should be betting. You should not be trading.
Good. And it's a lot of work, right? So what was the division of this work? You are responsible for a few games, a few
markets.
teams.
Yeah, the way Pinnacle did it is they had a North American department, and we all were assigned to a sport. So, for instance, I don't know, we did NBA. So we had a guy who was assigned to the NBA spreads and money lines, and we had a guy who was assigned to the totals. And then we would have a third guy who would fill in when one guy was not working, because they didn't work here, 7 days a week. It's usually 5.5 or 6.
Yeah.
So for soccer, the way Pinnacle does it is they have a big soccer department, let's call it 10 guys, and they each have a couple of leagues. So, and the way they divide the leagues is how it makes sense at what time they actually start. So that's the way they did it. So, for instance, if you were the La Liga trader, usually your games start later than the Germany Bundesliga, right? So then they give you a second league that makes sense with that start time. So you're not always overwhelmed with bets, because in soccer, as we all know, most of the bets come in 45 minutes before the game starts, so after the lineups come out.
Yeah, but this was what I was talking about, the difference between soccer and American sports in general.
Yep.
Because soccer you play today, let's say 4 or 5 days from now that we will have another match, right?
Yep.
So I can open this game now with the liquidity kind of nothing, right? And you do this profiling, let's say this profiling chasing that you do, right? This guy is smart.
Move the line.
Better move the line, so you open your eyes for him, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So in soccer, what happens? The way when we used to do it, obviously we had open the games 2 weeks away, right? So on Sunday after the games are over, you would already have the lines up for next week. So the limits are really small. People are betting. Even if the limits are $500 or $1,000, people are still going to bet those games. You have people profiled, and then as the week goes by, the limits go up. The VIG might come down a bit. The commissions that they charge the customer, and then we get to the final day when then we have the biggest limits, and then even that in soccer, those last 45 minutes or to an hour is when the lineup information actually comes out. That's when the traders have to be a little bit careful, because the line could move a lot, even though if it was stable throughout the week. Okay. There's more complicated things just to this, because as we all know, if you guys bet soccer, you probably realize there's tons of manipulation. There's tons of bad things happening throughout the week. And you as a trader have to fight that, because you have to, if you're trying to make the company the most money, when people are manipulating you, you have to make them pay, right? And when the line's going to move completely the other way, you have to be fast enough to get to the right price, right? So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of thinking, but yeah, it's good.
There's a lot of hard work.
I wouldn't call it, to me it's fun. You're not shoveling, you're not working outside, you're not doing anything too hard work, but there's a lot of thinking, a lot of brain power that needs to go by this stuff. And you have to be really good at, people ask me all the time, is there a book I can read to become a good trader? Is there a website I can read? No. Like, to be a good trader, you really have to understand pattern recognition, and you really have to understand just basic math, and those are the most two important things.
How many time you needed to profile some account?
A lot.
or it's not you that did this kind of thing. The Pinnacle has another system that shows you the smarts.
So we
Or
did
both.
it. It really depends on the trader themselves. I would do it basically every time I wasn't doing anything. I would start looking at accounts and start profiling them, start looking, how much they win, how much they beat the closing line by, because those are the two things that are the biggest two indicators. And then I would start profiling customers. But you also have to be careful with that stuff because people aren't stupid. If you put somebody on 80% auto mover, whenever they bet the line moves 80% of the VIG, right? Then they learn that and they could change their account, or they can use that account to bet the wrong side. There's a lot of things that goes on. So it's always a cat and mouse game. You have to try to always, be ahead of the game. And but the customer, it's also not stupid. The customer sees, oh, they used to move the line from two. You guys know decimal odds or American decimal odds? So let's say somebody used to bet plus 2.0 and the line moved to 1.98, and all of a sudden it moves to 1.92, right? The customer now has this information that can try to exploit you, right?
Right.
And so it's never ending. Now I think, I don't know, but don't quote me on this, I think Pinnacle has some of this stuff automated, where they have some kind of computer machine or whatever that profiles customers. But when I was there, it was all done by hand, and it was all manually. And every person, if I did the NBA, I did the profiling for the NBA. I didn't do them for the other sports. If I did soccer, I would do soccer. So the traders would do it. But now I think they have more people working on that.
That's because the technology and the market by itself it grows a lot, right?
Yep.
And you need to use it on your
Now we have
favorite
AIs to do this.
AIs too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Antonino, what do you think it's the main difference between the trading process that you used to do and in relation of the rest of the industry when you work with this?
So the business model that Pinnacle and Betcris and Circa Sports and you guys bet soccer, so you probably know ISN, or you probably know SingBet. The difference between these sports books and the rest of the world is that they don't kick out winners. So in theory, what you should do when you work for one of those places, the customers is the most powerful information you have, and that you are basically paying them to give you their information, right? Because winning customers are going to bet you, they're going to win, and you're basically paying them a salary to tell you a story. The rest of the world has a completely different model. Their business model is, let's try to, I wouldn't call it trading. It's kind of like, I don't know what you would call that, but they make sure that they're dealing a fair line compared to where the market is. So they're trading an average market consensus type thing. And then their traders they're not actually moving the odds. They're accepting bets and checking at bets to see that when a bet comes in, if it's a customer or a bet that you actually want.
Yes.
So it's completely, in my opinion, the big difference is the traders at sharp sports books are actually moving the lines. As square sports books, we call them squares in America, recreational sports books, they are making sure that no customer is taking advantage of their lack of trading.
Yes, but I think that this book is that kicks you out. We call here softy books. They nowadays they are trying to push the odds from the main market, right? Something like I don't know. For soccer, we used to push the odds from Sing and ISN, as you said. For the American esports, we use Circles and Betcris too. They used to do this too earlier, or no? It's a kind of a new thing that they're doing.
It's always been like this, those sports books.
Always using the reference.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It's
a good one.
it's a European way of doing business. Like that's how European sports books has always been. Same thing with Australia. Now America's kind of doing the same. And the problem is that until state and governments get involved, the bettors are really the only people that are going to suffer. Because if you don't allow people to get a fair bet at your shop, you're basically are predatory on people who lose money, right? So you go to Bet365 and they have a big nice sign that says responsible gaming, right? No, it's not responsible gaming because you don't want anybody that wins. And if I lose, not only do you keep taking my money, you also raise my limits.
Yes.
So
Give you bonus and
yeah, sometimes I'm not saying that they should take big bets from winning bettors, but if they're a regulated market, you should take a fair bet. And also, if I'm betting with you and I win, I'm paying taxes to my country, right? So it's good for the economy in theory. And yeah, they don't really do that, and there's nobody that's going to do that, so they can keep doing it because they will win at a way higher rate by using that business model.
but it's like, as you said, it's a model, right? The form of working.
Yeah, and it's also they save lots of money on employees as well. Because if you have this type of business model where you kick out any winner, you don't actually have to have smart people behind the computer moving your numbers.
Yes.
It's a job more easy for this kind of books.
Yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
but as Antonino said, you need to, I don't know, 10 traders for this La Liga of soccer. But if you get the odds from a big market, you just need
Just copy
one
and
computer. You don't
Yeah.
even need people to do this, right?
Correct.
copy and
Okay.
quit, copy and quit.
Yeah, that's basically. And until the governments and the states get involved, it's just going to keep being like this. And it's a battle that we, as professional bettors, we have to fight. And one day when you guys become the next Star Lizard with your soccer betting, you will find that same problem, that it's going to be hard to bet a lot of money because everybody just doesn't want to take your bets.
Yes, it's kind of hard. Already, it's kind of hard.
It's already. Do you guys like when Sing cancels your wagers for we bet a lot of soccer too, and my favorite thing is Sing Bet now cancels wagers when they think there's weird betting going on.
Yeah,
But
A lot of
championship, any championship.
yeah, and then when they do that, they always wait till the game is over.
Yes.
Like I'd be okay if you cancel my wager before I know if I win or lose. But every time I win, you cancel it. Every time I lose, you don't cancel it.
No, but
That's
just
it's
when you
happening.
win,
Yeah.
not when you
Yeah,
lose.
that's what I was going to say. We have this situation a few weeks ago with this book, and we do a bet on Brazilian first division. Serie A. It's
Yeah.
a kind of big market,
It's pretty
and
big.
they canceled a red one bet
Yeah. Yeah.
for us. A red one for us,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they do
For the
they
first
do this
time.
all. Yeah, they do this a decent amount. I mean, what can we do? It's a world we live in, which sucks, but
No, it's once a time, one time only on our history that happened. Always on a win situation, as you said. Antonino, which year you left the Pinnacle?
I left in 2017 or 2018. I don't recall. I think 17.
Okay, and how was the transition of you were a book trader? You said a little about it as you can earn more money and things like that. But how was the transition from a book trader and a better in
Yeah.
mainly?
Yeah. So to be honest, while I was working at Pinnacle, I never, and I tell this to people and they don't believe me, but I never made a wager in my life while I was working at Pinnacle. My
Holy,
first wager I've ever made was once I left Pinnacle, and not even $10, $20, nothing. So To be honest, what happened was I wanted to leave Pinnacle, not because the Pinnacle is great, but the reason why I left was mostly for personal reasons. I was tired of living in a little island, and I wanted to do something different. And the first thing I did was I used to trade at Pinnacle basketball live. Okay. Which, as anybody can understand, it's a really tough thing to deal, especially before the era of having models. We used to do it by hand. So I learned really lots of different market inefficiencies while I was trading at Pinnacle. So I was doing those by hand. I knew what the lines should be. I noticed what the lines competitors would post. I know that people made mistake. I know that customers will always bet a certain thing. And I thought that I could make a lot of money betting live basketball. So I hooked up with a couple of guys from Canada who had a lot of ways to get accounts. And we started betting basketball live. And we said, let's just give it a try. So that's what we did. So we would bet basketball live. It was going really well. And people, I don't know if you guys know the American market. There's this thing called WPH, PPH, Buckeye. They're illegal bookies all over America. Okay. So in America, for so many years, sports betting was illegal, but every city, every neighborhood, everybody had an illegal bookie that you can go and bet with. So people would bring us these illegal bookie accounts for us to bet in, and we kept betting, right? So we kept winning, and people saw that we were winning, even though they would get cut from the illegal bookie. They would bring us more accounts, more accounts. You know, we currently have about 300 to 400 active accounts at all times. It started much smaller. In the last 18 months, we've lost about 1,200 accounts. Just to give you an idea how many of these accounts keep on coming, right? So we were doing really well. But then we realized we only bet basketball live. We can bet so many other things. So we spend time, so we do a lot of stuff ourselves nowadays. So not only do we bet basketball live, but we also bet other things. But then we also started moving for other people. So we linked up with other big sharp groups where they would give us, a bet that they thought was good. We would bet it for them. And then we would keep a small percentage for us. We would give them a big percentage to them. And that's kind of how betting partnerships work. And kind of the challenging part of all of this is that when I worked at Pinnacle, I had no idea how hard it was to actually bet. I thought that the hard part was having a winning wager, but it's not like that. In today's world, it's way harder to get down a decent amount of money and make sure you get paid all the time and making the logistics all work than actually to know that one thing is plus CV versus another thing that it does not, right? At least that's what we found. So
I agree with you. It's the harder part nowadays here in Brazil. It's to put the money to play and receive it later.
Receive it, of course. So now we have a pretty big operation. We have about 12 employees. We bet a lot of stuff, like I said, that mostly basketball live and some other American sports live that we do ourselves. We bet some pregame ourselves, but we also move for some of the biggest groups that there is because we are able to get so many accounts and help out where we can. And it works both ways. If I have a guy who I give him, we can get him $30,000 on a tennis match, he might help me like get liquidity on something else, right? So it's like I am always a firm believer that people, like, I want to get rich, but I want other people to also be rich. Like, that's how we all grow together, and in this business sometimes it's hard to find people like that because everyone always thinks you're trying to screw somebody, and they always think that you're being greedy. And I find that very difficult at times to make partnership work because I'm really honest, but sometimes people don't trust you, or they don't think you can be that honest. And I'll give you an example. We had these guys who did soccer. They were so good. Okay, these guys, they were over a year sample, over 3,000 wagers. They held 8%. Okay, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we used to bet a lot of their soccer. And so somebody brings me an account, right? They give me 50% of that account. They keep 50% to themselves, right? So then if I bet $1,000, 500 goes to the account owner, 500 goes to me, right? But
Yeah.
now the person that's asking me for the bet, if I'm going to give him 80% of my $500, right? And I keep 20% for me, that person found out that there were more people making more money than him, which is true because 50% goes to the account holder. I keep 20% of the 50%, and I give you 80% of 50%, right? So more people were making more money than the account holder, than the person who was making the wager. And that once they found that out, and maybe I was stupid to explain it to them the way it worked, they basically cut our relationship. They said, no, it cannot be possible that there's people who make more money than I'm making when I'm the one originating. But what I want to tell them is, where do you are going to find people that can get you down this much money on these soccer games without moving the market, and to make sure that we are always paying you, right? Because if somebody doesn't pay us, we still pay the person that we gave the bet to, right? So there's always, it's tough.
Yes. He think normally the people think it's easier to do, right? It's just to put the money on it. They
I
don't
can
know
do
how
it
hard it's the
myself.
yes,
Yeah.
they don't know how it's hard the other things that in
Because
our
the way they see it is they just see a number with
yes,
an handicap and the odds, right? They don't know what it takes to get that number.
yes,
If I want to give you $10,000 on Scotland 2 soccer league the night before without moving the market, I had to bet hundreds of accounts, like, and they don't see that. And then I have to collect from hundreds of accounts. And
yes.
if we lose, I have to pay 100 different people. They just don't get it.
No, it's kind of hard to. Um, uh, let's talk now that you say that your main market is basketball live, right?
Yeah.
What are the advantages and the disadvantage in this process? Such as, for example, how to nullify the advantage that operators in large groups have in cases like of delay in live and something like that. The information is kind of is lower, right? Normally.
So just to give you guys an idea, we bet every single basketball league that exists. We don't do any South American ones, but we do all the main European ones, all the American ones. The disadvantages are, like you said, the delay. The way we try to avoid that is we only bet during timeouts. We
Okay.
only bet during quarter breaks. We only bet at halftime. So when we're betting these games, we're watching the game. When the game goes on a break, we run our numbers and then we bet.
That's because
That's
you need time to put the money on it too, right?
Yeah, you need money, and you don't want to be betting while there's a basket that might happen. You have to know, for my model to work, I have to know the score of the game, how much time there's left, who has the ball. These are all things that you need to know. So if the game is moving, you can't do much.
Yes. It changes
Now,
Possible to know
quickly.
all this.
yeah, also sometimes you make a wager and there's a 5 seconds delay before your wager gets accepted. There could have been a 3-pointer in that time. You don't know. There is sometimes that you can bet disadvantage stuff like what with the delay, and the times are whenever a big superstar, especially in the NBA, gets hurt during the game. So let's say LeBron James gets hurt and he goes to the locker room. Like the sports books, they take a while before they adjust. So if you know what a LeBron James or Nikola Jokovic is worth to the line, you can find a lot of value even with the spinning delays and whatever else.
Do you have some people watching the games or?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
You
yeah.
have the
So
department.
we have like I said, we have about 12 employees. We usually have a couple people watching, a couple people betting. Most of our bets are done by a bot because doing manually is too hard.
It's true. You replicate the bets, right?
Yeah, like if you want to put the same bet on 10 different accounts, it's just only one click. And then we have one person usually also watching and screaming the numbers out. So we have about 4 or 5 people doing a slate of 13 games. Sometimes we miss. Sometimes we don't know that a player got hurt. Sometimes we don't know. We think that one team has the ball, but the other team has the ball. We don't always get them right, but we make plenty of mistakes. But that's just okay. So another disadvantage is that sometimes you don't have perfect information because we don't have a data feed from Bet Genius or Bet Radar that goes into our model. We just have to do it manually because we're not a company that has a big, technology stack or anything like that. Then another disadvantage is live has way more VIG than pregame. That's a big disadvantage betting live. And that's in all sports, not just basketball. So usually in an NBA game in America, you can get 1.91 on each side. In live, it's 1.83, 1.85. So the VIG is much higher. But the biggest advantage that you have is in pregame, you only have one opportunity. In pregame, the number is wrong, and you can go and bet it out, bet as much as you can, whatever. The line will move, and the game is done for the day, right?
Yes.
In live, you might have 10 opportunities throughout one game. So your ROI is probably a bit tighter, but your volume will be a lot larger because every single timeout, every single halftime, you could find value. So sometimes we'll have a basketball game and, we bet a team -6 on the spread, on the handicap. And then 5 minutes later, we'll bet the same team -12. And then 10 minutes later, we'll bet the same team -15. Okay. Some people might look at that as only one bet. I look at that as 3 bets.
Yes, they are 3 different scenarios.
Yeah. Now I can lose all 3 bets, sure.
Yeah.
Right. But you just like how you can
possibilities.
You can win all 3 bets. And so we might have 5 or 6 different positions in a game, all at different numbers. And sometimes we'll win them all. Sometimes we lose them all. Sometimes we'll have, -3, -6, and then we'll have +12 and +13. And if it lands in the middle, you win all your bets. So it's a lot like that.
How many bets do you do on a month?
In a month, bets, thousands.
Thousands?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, volume-wise, it's hard to say because, per bet, probably thousands.
Good.
It's
a huge number.
Well, there's tons of value in my opinion in live, and it's not just that. Like even in baseball live, we started dabbling in baseball live a bit. There's the same dynamics are happening in every live sport. I give you an example, right? I'm not giving away any secrets, okay? So let's say let's say Barcelona is not good anymore. Let's say Manchester City, right? Manchester City is losing at halftime, 1-0, right? What are most bettors going to do? Wow, to bet Manchester City before the game started, I had to bet 1.1. Now I can probably get Manchester City at 1.4, 1.5, right? So I'm going to go and bet them while they're losing 1-0 because I still think they're going to come back and win, right? The sports books, what do you think they do? They know this is going to happen.
Yes.
So if Manchester City's real value should be 1.4, they'll put Manchester City at 1.3.
They put a huge vigor.
All right. So when they're putting Manchester City at 1.3, Chelsea on the other side, their odds are better than they should be. Right? So now if you can quantify that, when the sports books do that, then you can make a lot of money.
That really makes sense.
Yes, it does.
You have to know how to quantify it, though. I'm not suggesting you bet on the team against Manchester City every time they're winning at halftime, okay? That's not what I'm suggesting. But if the games are big enough and if there's enough people betting these markets that move the line, like a Pinnacle, like a ISN, and whatever else, then if you can quantify it, there's a lot of money that can be made.
Good.
That's a good one.
We want to talk a little now about the exchanges, okay?
Yeah.
In your opinion on sharp markets and exchange, better is life, because here in Brazil and Latin American as one all, Betfair has a big influence here. You know, what do you think about the exchanges?
Okay. So if you're betting small and you just want to make a bet, exchanges are a great idea. In general, I found exchanges to be bad for people like me. And the reason being is every time I put in an order on an exchange, the times I'm wrong is the times I get filled. So the problem with exchanges, if the liquidity is already there and I want to grab it, great. But if I'm the one that's going to put in an order and wait for somebody to fill it, that a lot of times I won't get filled. Nobody will bet against me. And a lot of times when I do get filled, it's because I was wrong.
Yes.
And the problem with exchanges is that I don't know about Betfair, but there's a bunch of new ones coming out in America. To create that liquidity, it's not human beings. Okay? It's big firms or big market makers, they're called. So people with lots of money or big groups that they are putting the liquidity in. So when you're betting, yes, it's nice. You have lower margins, whatever. It's nice that you can put in your own price, sure. And this poetic thing of exchange idea, it's poetic. It's great. I think it's wonderful. But the reality is if you ever see lots of money in exchange, it's because a big, sharp group has put that money there.
And you need to put against him.
You're playing against them, exactly.
Yes. You can't play on the same side to use the liquidity.
Correct. So that's why I find exchanges hard for me. But if you're just betting and you want to get the best price and you're betting because you want to root your favorite team on Sunday, then use the exchange. It's wonderful.
Okay. As it's our thinking about it too.
Yeah, it's basically like, remember when I was telling you earlier, the sometimes we make mistakes too, right? So it's hard to think that I've made a lot of money sports betting. I still don't think I'm not even one of the smartest people in the world when it comes in that area, right? Because you have to understand when you're wrong. And you're going to be wrong in this business a lot of the times. Like a big percentage of times, you're just wrong, right? So when I bet basketball, right, I bet what I think is a perceived edge of 4%, okay? Do I win at 4%? No. I win at a lot less. And the reason why I win at a lot less is because there's plenty of times that I'm making a wager thinking it's 4%, but I'm wrong. I don't know that a guy has hurt his ankle. I don't know that LeBron James has 3 fouls. I don't know that the Lakers didn't have the ball, right? And the same thing happens in soccer. I guaranteed whatever you guys are betting, you're betting a higher perceived value than you're actually holding. Your ROI is for sure lower than your perceived value. Maybe am I mistaken, or you guys believe that?
I believe. I agree with you.
I agree. Yeah, I agree too.
We have a question in the end of the one of the last questions,
Okay.
right? That we do. It's a device for beginners, bettors,
Sure.
also for new operations that are appearing here in Latin America, in Brazil, and things like that. We always like to ask this for our invited to see what they think about the market as well.
Okay. So what is the question exactly? I'm sorry.
It's a device for beginners, bettors.
Oh, an advice.
Yes, and a device, or for operators,
Okay.
sure. Someone who
Okay.
wants to become a trader and things like that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say something that probably no one's ever going to answer this question this way, okay? The biggest advice I can give a beginner trader a beginner better, is decide who for you is the sharpest book. Let's call it Pinnacle for argument's sake. And if Pinnacle ever asks the best price in the market on the side that you want to bet, so let's say you want to bet Manchester City 1 point, I don't know, whatever. Let's say you want to bet Barcelona 2.0 and the whole world is at 2.0, but Pinnacle has Barcelona 2.05. Do not make that wager. That's the biggest advice I can give somebody. Doesn't have to be Pinnacle. You can decide yourself who's the sharpest sports book. But if who you think is the sharpest is offering the best price in the market, you probably don't want to bet that team. You want to bet the other team.
Good.
We have the same experience here too on that one.
Okay, so somebody has made this advice.
Use this kind of filter for bets too.
Oh, nice. All right, and then for an operator, to succeed as an operator, the hardest thing for all operators, I really believe, is technology. So you have to make sure that your technology is strong, because you have no idea how much trash there is out there in the world that's just trying to take your money. So I know that people always get mad at operators when they delete their wagers or when they put delays on their bets. But the reason you're forced to do this is because I have no sympathy for people who are doing this. There's groups out there that they only make money from fast posting. There's groups out there that they only make money from when you post an extra zero on a line. And that is such a low level of individuals, in my opinion, because you are ruining sports betting for everybody else. By you being those type of people, they're just trying to steal from a sports book whenever they make a mistake. You're basically stealing from all us fair bettors who are now looking to bet because of a faster feed or because we noticed that line at extra zero. We're just trying to bet as if we want to just make a fair bet. But these individuals, you have no idea, groups from Cyprus, groups from Russia, groups from Brazil, groups from Venezuela, all right? There are so many of these groups out there that are just only there to trying to screw a sports book, not fairly, in my opinion.
And if you start again in this world, which way you would take, the trader one or the better one? Which one do you think is the best?
I think the trader one, if you're going to work at a sharp book, the trader way is going to be the right way because you learn so much. If you're going to take the betting way, you really, this business is so hard, and it changes all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's not as easy as, oh, the teams have changed players. No, sportsbook gets smarter, other customers get smarter, and it's a free open market where we're all chasing to a good number. We're all racing to try to bet that good number, right? And there's millions and millions of people in the world, so it's so hard to win a sports betting.
You have to beat the house and the another people who are
the other customers,
yeah.
And so getting into as a sports bettor is tough. You really need people to teach you. You really need, it's not many individuals can do it. Yeah. At least in trading, you can go in there, they'll teach you stuff. You learn a lot. You learn, basic concepts, and maybe you find an angle or you find an edgy play, and you can start from there, right?
Okay, good.
Yes, because if you didn't work with Pinnacle, you said you didn't even do it a click on betting before this. Maybe you wouldn't be where you are now.
Oh, no way, no way. If I didn't learn how to do basketball live at Pinnacle, I would have never started betting. And if I didn't learn some mathy things that they taught me, like for instance, correlation, right?
Yeah.
Correlation to the naked eye is tough to understand. Like most casual bettors don't understand that if you bet -1.25 in a soccer game, it's almost the same as betting over 3.5 on the total, right? Most sports bettors don't understand this. And these are things I didn't know either. I learned through working at Pinnacle,
Yes. I have another question for you, Antonino.
Yeah.
You bet in live, right? Basketball model. Okay. What do you think about the CLV theory? You said earlier on our conversation here about the profiling from the Pinnacle, about
Yep.
the closing line value. What do you think about it? And if there's some kind of I don't know, some kind of hate on your model, the
Uh,
line that closed.
yeah. So my models, live models at least, one of the inputs is the closing line. So I have to hope that the closing line is correct for my model to work. Okay.
Okay.
So that's super important. Now, when we're talking about closing line value as a sports bettor, it's very important that you have that in pregame, because if you're not beating the closing line, I promise you, you will not win long term. Now, do I think that sports bettors exist who don't beat the closing line? And the answer is yes. There's plenty of sports bettors out there that win without having any closing line value. The best sports bettors in the world, not me, the best, they don't want any closing line value, because if they have closing line value, their accounts get closed faster. Number one, let's say they think that Barcelona is valued this week versus Real Madrid. If the line steams, so if the line moves on Barcelona, is less likely that Barcelona will have value the following week versus their next opponent. So if I wasn't betting live and I was betting pregame, and I realized that one team was undervalued in the market, I would try to bet as much money as possible without moving the line, because that same value is going to be there next week. And a lot of people don't realize that, but that's why closing line value sometimes is bad.
Okay, that's a nice one. Antonino, there is another topic that you wanna say something about, or it's okay for you?
The one thing I want to just tell people, there's I'll give a plug. There's this place called Bet Bash. Have you guys ever heard of it?
No.
No, I didn't know.
All right, so Bet Bash is
Sure. Sorry, Bet Bash. Yes.
Bet Bash. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Bet Bash is a conference that's got created by sports bettors for sports bettors. It's in Vegas every year. Sports bettors like us, we all get together and we see if we can strike any partnerships among ourselves to help each other. And I think it's super cool if people are into this type of stuff to go to a place like Bet Bash. And I recommend it. I am not a paid sponsor or anything. I'm just telling you my truth, honest opinion. It's really good. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because in this business, it's not about what you know. It's not even about on who you know. It's more about on who you know knows. It's all about relationships. It's all about making friends. It's all about being honorable. And it's all about helping each other out. Because I could have the best basketball model in the world universe. If I can't bet it, it's not worth anything. And the same thing with the soccer models and whatever else.
Yes. If you can put only, I don't know, $10 on each game, it was not worth it having this model.
Of course.
And the moment in that we have today, we have been seeing this a lot. because this kind of thing you said, it's the kind of problem that we passed through in the last months.
Yeah.
So it's really, really true. What you said.
Soccer is not so bad. I mean, between Pinnacle, ISN, and Sing, you can get a decent amount down. The problem is that the limits are so small until the game, until very few minutes before the game begins, right? So an hour before it begins.
Yes.
But beating those lines an hour before the game begins is way harder than beating those lines the day before, right?
Yes, of course. Antonino, do you have something, I don't know, some product to sell that you wanted to introduce here to your market, here on the end?
I don't sell anything, but if you're ever looking to partner up with anybody in sports betting and you have ways to actually bet money, or if you have good bets and are looking for somebody to bet money for you, reach out to me on Twitter, or just my Twitter handle is my first and last name, or LinkedIn, whatever. And yeah, that's really the only thing that we ever need.
Okay.
Então, pessoal, essa aqui foi a nossa entrevista com o Antonino. Estamos chegando aí no final de mais um podcast. Foi um papo bem legal. Espero que todos vocês tenham curtido. Vou passar aqui a palavrinha para ele dar umas palavras finais para vocês, dizer um tchau, tchau. E também já deixo aqui o meu e agradeço a todos que assistiram até aqui. E Divinão aí também, se ele quiser deixar alguma palavra final para a galera, é isso.
Só agradecer esse papo aqui, que foi muito, muito bacana aqui com o Antonino. Foi bem bacana. Espero que vocês gostem aí. Vou passar a palavra para ele aqui, para ele despedir de vocês. You can go.
Guys, thanks for having me. It was my pleasure. To be honest, you guys are the first people I've ever met that bet on sports from Brazil. So it was really nice to talk to you guys. And, let's all try to win a lot of money this year in soccer betting.